You know that feeling, right? When you pick up a cotton t-shirt and it's just impossibly soft, while another one feels kind of scratchy and cheap? Well, that difference isn't an accident. It's all thanks to this incredible hidden industrial process that literally sorts the good cotton from the bad.
See that huge difference in quality you can feel? It starts way before the fabric is ever woven together. It all begins with the raw cotton fibers themselves, and a really critical step that separates the absolute best from, well, all the rest.
So, what is this secret step? What's the mechanical magic that takes a total jumble of raw fibers and turns it into the foundation for something that feels luxurious and smooth? The answer is a process called combing. Now, to really get why combing is such a game changer, you first have to understand the problem it's solving. Raw cotton, fresh from the field, is basically a chaotic mess. It's a random mix of fibers of all different lengths, and it's full of tiny knots, bits of plant debris. It's just total disorder. And all those little problems have big consequences. Those short fibers, they don't just feel rough. They actually create weak spots in the yarn. Those little tangled knots, they're called neps, and any leftover trash. They create visible flaws in the final fabric. And because none of the fibers are lined up, they don't stick together well, which creates this annoying fluff called fiber flies that can cause all sorts of headaches in the factory. So, the goal of combing is actually pretty simple. It's a systematic cleanup job. On one hand, you're boosting all the good stuff, making the fibers more uniform and the yarn stronger. And on the other hand, you're actively getting rid of all the bad stuff, the faults, the fuzziness, and those pesky little fiber flies.
But here's the thing, you can't just dump a pile of raw cotton into a combing machine. No way. Like any precision job, you've got to do the prep work first. The fibers need to be organized into a very specific format before you can even think about combing them.
And this transformation is so important. It all starts with these loose, rope-like bundles of cotton called slivers. A machine takes dozens of these slivers at once, stretches them out, that's called drafting, and merges them all into one single uniform sheet of cotton. Then, that sheet gets wound up really tight, under a lot of pressure, into a dense roll called a lap. And that lap, that is the perfect thing to feed into the combing machine. And here you can see exactly what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got all those individual slivers going in. They get stretched and blended together into that one flat sheet. And on the right, that's the final product of this stage, the tightly wound lap, all ready for the comber.
Yeah, and we're not talking about a small workshop here. This is a massive industrial process. That machine, right in the middle, that's the lab former. And all those big white cans around it, they're packed with the slivers that are being fed into it to create those huge, dense laps you see rolling out on the conveyor belt.
Okay, so now for the main event. How does a machine actually comb cotton? Well, the easiest way to picture it is to think about combing really tangled hair, right? You hold the hair tight with one hand and then comb out the knots and loose hairs from the ends. A combing machine does something surprisingly similar, just in a super precise, super fast 4-stage cycle.
Stage 1 is grip and comb. First, a clamp, they call it a nipper, grabs onto the sheet of cotton, leaving a little fringe of fiber sticking out. Then this circular comb loaded with tiny needles sweeps right through that fringe, pulling away any short fibers or gunk that isn't being held tight by the clamp.
Next up, stage 2, detach. Now a different set of rollers moves in. They grab hold of only that freshly combed fringe, the good stuff, and they gently pull that perfect little tuft of long, clean fibers away from the main sheet. They're basically rescuing it. On to stage 3, feed and recomb. The nipper lets go for a second, and the whole cotton sheet scoots forward just a few millimeters. And what this does is expose the back ends of the fibers that were just combed. So the circular comb swings around again to clean up this new section. And finally, stage 4, piecing. Now this is the really clever part. Those detaching rollers, which are still holding that first perfect tuft, they actually move backward and lay that tuft down so it just slightly overlaps with the newly combed fringe. This makes a perfect, seamless connection. And now they're in position to grab the next tuft, and the whole cycle just starts all over again, hundreds of times every minute.
So you've got this machine creating hundreds of these perfect little tufts every single minute. But, a big pile of perfect tufts isn't a t-shirt, right? So the next step is to figure out how to cleverly put them all back together into one continuous strand.
Well, Remember that overlapping trick from stage 4? The machine just does that over and over and over again. Each perfect little tuft is laid down neatly on top of the last one. And this builds up into a continuous, almost see-through web of perfectly parallel, beautiful, long fibers.
This super delicate web is then gently funneled together, forming a brand new, uniform, rope-like strand. Now, this is also called a sliver, but this isn't just any sliver. This is a combed sliver. This is the elite stuff, and this is the precious material that will get spun into the best, most premium yarn.
So after all that incredible mechanical choreography, the gripping, the combing, the piecing, what's the actual payoff? Why does all of this matter? Well, this is where it all comes full circle, right back to that soft t-shirt we talked about at the beginning.
And this, right here, is the proof. This is what's happening at a microscopic level. The top graph shows the fibers before combing, a big old mix of long and short. The bottom graph is after. I mean, look at that difference. It's dramatic. That entire chunk of short fibers is just gone. All that's left is the good stuff, the long, uniform fibers.
And when you only use those amazing long fibers, you get everything you want in a great fabric. The yarn is stronger, the fabric feels way smoother, you get fewer imperfections, it's much less likely to pill or shed over time. It even dyes better, so the color is richer and more even. And ultimately, combing is what allows manufacturers to spin those finer, lighter, more luxurious yarns we all love.
So the next time you put on a shirt that just feels incredibly soft, remember what's going on. That quality you can feel, it isn't just about the brand name. It's a direct result of some amazing hidden engineering. A careful, meticulous sorting process that happens right at the very beginning. It's the simple, powerful idea of a comb, just scaled up to create the foundation for our very finest fabrics.